Hey everyone, my name is Caitlin and welcome back to another video. Today, love is in the air and I'm going to be talking about my favorite couples from all the books that I've read. I am going to be spanning a bunch of different genres, so it won't be just romance books, but also fantasy, YA, NA, and full adult fantasy. So strap in, I have my top 5 and my honorable mentions coming right up. Warning, there will be spoilers ahead for the following series: A Court of Thorns and Roses, Throne of Glass, From Blood and Ash, and the Farseer trilogy. Starting at number 5 on my list, we have Fitz and Molly from the Farseer trilogy. While these two are not really a couple in the first book, there are definitely the beginnings of romantic tidings. It's not until the second book, though, that they fully come into their own as a couple, and words cannot describe how real and raw that the emotions are between them. Unfortunately, this relationship is fraught with plenty of problems, spelling out tragedy for the couple by the end of the second book, but don't worry, they do get back together as the series progresses, even beyond Farseer trilogy. So why do I like this couple so much? Well, they are a childhood friends to lovers arc, which is so endearing simply because we get to see them from their first meeting as kids and playing out as friends and how they developed their relationships in that friendship to then become older and hit puberty and start seeing each other differently. And you have all of these really cute, childish moments where you can see that they're just blushing around one another because they don't really know how to deal with this new dynamic that has been adopted between them. All in all, it's just adorable to watch, and as their relationship progresses and you can see tragedies befall each of them, how they drift apart and then come back together, it all seems very realistic. I can totally imagine this exact scenario, this exact couple existing in real life, and the challenges that they face and which drives them apart makes sense, and I never felt like it was being thrown in there just to get in the way of the couple as a whole. The ways that they make up and talk to each other are both witty and funny and flirtatious, while also being very unfortunate in the fact that you understand why the problems that they have arise, but you also can't see how it could have gone better. Unfortunately, things are the way they are in this universe, and it ends up not working out too well for them, but they always try, and their relationship makes you just wish so hard that it'll all work out for them, while knowing as a person consciously in your mind that if this was real life, it probably wouldn't. And I just really appreciate how Robin Hobb took those characters and made such a realistic scenario happen around them and made the readers want something better for both of them. I just think it was really well done. Also, they have the cute dynamic of they're like sneaking around to make sure that they can still be together and have time together, which is so adorable. They talk about marriage and they talk about the kids that they want to have and how he wants to do right by her. And she is talking about how she wants to be someone worthy of him, how she makes things that are really important to her known and is always very honest with him. And unfortunately, he can't be honest with her in return, which ends up kind of derailing their whole relationship, unfortunately. But while it is going on, even though they have to hide it, even though they are going against all rules of decorum, they're just so sweet and so raw and realistic, and I can't help but love them. Number 4 on my list is Poppy and Hawk from the From Blood and Ash series. That is not an easy phrase to say. This is a guard to lover / enemies to lover relationship that ends up being so spicy and so great. I love these two. Their witty banter and their sarcastic attitudes are always great, but there's also that I want to protect you and I will make sure nothing bad happens to you thing that it melts my heart. I'm very susceptible to that kind of trope. At the same time, it does twist this on its head a little bit, seeing as Poppy is not a damsel in distress by any means. She can very much take care of herself and proves that several times throughout the series. It's more of just the idea that they are going to be there for each other no matter what and are willing to fight for each other and not willing to let bad things happen to the other that just really warms my heart. I'm kind of a sucker for that kind of trope, and this is where the spoilers are, so if you plan on reading this, don't listen any further. But when he reveals himself as Castile, it's just so much better too, because now all of their truths are out on the open and they have to navigate how they go from this trusting relationship where she has to trust him as her guard to suddenly he has kind of pulled the rug from under her, and they have to navigate and figure out what their relationship is from this point going forward. And that's kind of the whole plot of the second book. And I think that they do a very good job of it because they recognize that they're still attracted to each other, that their personalities are still the same, and they fell in love with each other under bad circumstances. And I think the resolution of all of that in the second book really does make this relationship kind of redeeming despite the lies that are happening underneath. I also just think that I really like Poppy as a character, and I love Castile's just wittiness and his protective nature and how much he loves his country and how much he is a good person deep underneath, even though he has to act like he's not a lot of the time to be able to get what he wants and to rule his country. I think all of that is just so enticing from a reader perspective, and it's what actually made me fall in love with the series a lot of the time. I don't like Jennifer L. Armentrout's other romances in some of her other books, but I really do love this one, and I'm so excited for The Crown of Gilded Bones, which is coming out on April 20th. I am definitely going to be getting that and doing a review of it. I am so excited to see what happens, especially after that kind of cliffhanger from the second book. So yeah, I love this couple. Plus, it's very spicy, and it's good kind of spice. It's a very, very good kind of spice. All right, so for my third place, I had to narrow down the Sarah J. Maas characters that I was going to be putting on this top 5, and I decided to only put 2 in general. We'll get to the next one, but this is my first Sarah J. Maas couple that I'm putting on my list. And I think it's gonna be a controversial one because of the ones that I left out and the fact that I'm putting this so high and I'm not even putting the others on the list. Here, my top 3 spot goes to Alide and Lorcan. Yeah. I love them, what can I say? I was going between all of the Throne of Glass couples, and they're the one that stuck out the most in my mind. Especially that scene in Kingdom of Ash when she rides out into the battlefield to find him, to bring him to safety, even though she knows that she could very well die when that dam breaks. Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. And I love that he was the one who was in trouble and she came to his rescue, and she's this girl that everyone assumes is so helpless and she has a limp and she's crippled, and yet she is so brave of heart and willing to risk and sacrifice her own life for someone else that I love it. It's so good. And then there's the whole Lorcan-Locan thing. I also love the I hate everyone but you trope, which is Lorcan's feelings about Alide to a T. And then you have Alide, who is so absolutely naive because she's been stuck in a tower for so many years, and then she was a slave for Erewhon, that now she's just learning about the world and she has this like grumpy boy as her guide, and she doesn't know what to do with it. And it's so funny to me because she's so competent as well. They made her so competent. And he's just like in awe of her, and I'm honestly in awe of her too. I love Alide. I think she's one of my favorite characters of all time, honestly. And so I think she's so great, and I love how her just earnest nature and how hardworking she is and how loyal she is and how willing to sacrifice herself she is and work through her pain to make sure that she's doing the best thing. She's so good-hearted, and how this all melts Lorcan's heart and makes him realize that he's not on the right side of history and he would do anything for this woman in front of him because she is so amazing and he hopes to be as amazing as she is. It's a wonderful relationship. Also, I love the fake marriage trope because we have to act like we're husband and wife to be able to admit passage anywhere when it's really easy to just do brother and sister. It's super cheesy and you've seen it in a million rom-coms, but it's adorable, and it just like makes me all giddy and gives me like little butterflies in my stomach, so I of course love that trope. Number 2 on my list is Alex and Henry from Red, White, and Royal Blue. I mean, I love these two so much. There's a reason why it is the #1 recommended romance whenever you are looking at any list whatsoever trying to find new romance books to read. They are so good and they're so well done. And can I just say that I love an extended timeline on a romance. Like, this basically goes over a whole year, which makes it so that when their relationship develops, it makes sense. Like, people don't fall in love in a month, guys. It just doesn't happen. You don't go from meeting someone to being in love with them. It's not how the world works. So when they have a really extended period of time to learn and get to know each other, it makes me happy. It feels more realistic, and I like them more as a romance couple. There's also the fact that they've known each other for a very long time and they started off as rivals. Oh yes, this is an enemies to lovers that is LGBTQ friendly. There's a lot in here to work with and it's so great to see that representation finally. But let's talk about the main romance. These two are rivals. He is the Prince of England and Alex is the president's son, and they are so adorable, and when they get into a bunch of shenanigans, they are forced to act like they are friends in order to clear up some of the press issues that arose from their big fight. Obviously things develop into more, and you can see as their friendship develops, also their sexual tension develops, and as well as their romance, and it ends up being so great. And also the coming out scenes are so amazing, which, I mean, given the light of everything that's happening with the royal family right now, who knows if that's actually how it would go down, but we're just holding on hope in this fantasy universe. Anyway, I love this book, and definitely pick it up if you are looking for an enemies to lovers arc, and especially if you want some queer representation on your bookshelf. It's great for a reason. I mean, it's so highly rated for a reason. And my number one couple, I almost don't want to say it because it's gonna make me sound so basic, because I am basic, and I tried to think around this couple, guys. I tried to think of any other couple that I could put as number one over this couple, and I couldn't, and I'm sorry. I'm basic. It's how it is. It's Feyre and Rhys from ACOTAR. When I say that this relationship left such a lasting impact on me, I need to gather my thoughts. It's respectful. It is a girl dealing with her trauma and a guy not trying to immediately get it in at the same time, but actually helping her heal. It is two people bettering themselves. It is soulmates. It is so beautiful, and it's pure chemistry beyond sexual. It's romantic chemistry, but it's also personality chemistry. He is witty and he brings her out of her shell and allows her to see herself as worth it and worthy and strong, while also making it so that she has a safe space and she has a family that will accept her. And it is not just about the romance, it's about the whole book, but the whole book is the romance. It's the heart of the novel, and it's hard to separate the two because the two work so in tandem. And it's about overcoming trauma and about overcoming your past to become something new and to rise up. And that is absolutely what both of them do, and they're there for each other and help each other grow in order to become the people that they need to be. And yeah, it has all those tropes. It has the, oh, there's only one bed trope. It has the soulmates trope. It has the enemies to lovers trope. It has the witty, sarcastic attitude where they flirt shamelessly. I know that is overhyped. I know that people have heard Feyre and Rhys 100 times over. But there's a reason for that. And I know that everyone loves Feyre and Rhys, and it's kind of more edgy to choose a different character or a different couple as your favorite. I can't ever do that. I feel like my heart is too loyal to them, and they changed the game for me, honestly, and they changed romance for me. I was willing to accept so little and demand so little of authors when they put a romance in their book until Sarah J. Maas wrote Feyre and Rhys. And then all of a sudden I was not willing to accept less, and a lot of that has to do with how well written this romance is and how great this book is. And there is absolutely valid criticism of this relationship and of these series in general. I understand those, I've heard them. I love reading with Cindy's criticism on the whole ACOTAR series. She absolutely hates it, and my best friend and I have watched her videos and just laughed along and been like, yep, that's accurate. It's really cheesy. Yep, that's right. It's bad. But at the same time, I love it so much, and I could never conceive of loving another couple as much as I love these two. Now, I do want to go into a few honorable mentions who I didn't put in this video, either because I just liked a few more, and also because I didn't want to turn this into a top 10, or else it would be way too long of a video in general. My first honorable mention is going to be Alessandra and Aiden from Throne of Glass. I actually really thought about replacing Aligned and Lorcan with Alessandra and Aiden because I love these two couples so much. The thing I love the most about Alessandra and Aiden is that they don't actually ever have like a real moment until the very last book, even though they've kind of like pledged themselves to each other and are like, we're definitely getting married, but they don't actually have a moment for themselves until like the end. And yet I still love them. Yet their relationship is so real, and they have fights and they break up without actually breaking up because they never get together. And they realize that they have to put things above each other, and they do so, and it hurts you as a reader, but you also understand, you're like, yes, that is the thing you had to do in that moment. And I feel like it was really a shame, because the only reason that they weren't fully in my list is because the plot overruled their relationship in the book, which I don't think it did as much with Morgan and Alive. My next honorable mention is Elend and Vin from the Mistborn trilogy. I love these two, but also Brandon Sanderson is not the best at writing romance. I kind of had to scrape the bottom of the barrel to get a lot of these two and like the cute moments that I loved. I mean, yeah, he gave her his handkerchief and it was adorable. But also when they get like married, there's not a lot that they do together. And even though I love them both and I love their relationship and how much they trust each other, I know for a fact that like this is not the best written romance, and I would feel remiss if I put their romance into my top 5 when there really isn't much there. Brandon Sanderson is not known for his couplings. And my final honorable mention is going to be Alessandra and Kallias from The Shadows Between Us. This is a short little romance book that is all about political intrigue and morally gray characters, and I love it. It's great. It was a fun read. It actually was the thing that got me back into reading after having a really long hiatus. And I'm not saying it's the best book of all time, but it is fun, and the romance is actually really adorable. And I love that both of them are not necessarily good people, like even in the slightest. Like she straight up kills people, and he's kind of a tyrant. So they're not good people, but their romance is really cute, and it is definitely an enemies to lovers. It has a bunch of tropes. It's an I hate everyone but you. It's friends to lovers as well. I guess it's enemies to friends to lovers. Either way, there's a bunch of political intrigue, and both of them are vying for power. It's great. I really enjoyed myself. I think it's a fun read. And that is it. Those are all of my favorite couples from all of the books that I have read. I really want to know if you guys have any favorite couples that I did not list on here. Definitely leave it in a comment below, as well as any suggestions on books that you know that have great romance in them. Because honestly, most of the books on these lists were all recommendations to me, and I'm so glad that I read them. That is it, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next video.